today with this Craftsman R1000, taking a look at it. Customer says that the steering just clicks when you turn it to the left, and then it will not start. We're going to check it out and get it fixed up like it should be. Go ahead and first off hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. There we go. When you get anywhere to the left, I guess to the right now too, the steering just sits there and does nothing. Not a good thing, but a super simple and cheap and easy fix. I'll show you how to do that directly. The first thing I did when checking this out is I did make sure that it does start up. Now this battery is from 2019. When putting a jump pack on it though, it fires right up. So we are going to replace the battery since it's from 2019. Usually you get, 3 or 4 years out of these lawn and garden batteries. If you're in the country or something like that, I usually only get a year or two at the most, unless you leave a maintainer on it over the winter. If you do that, you'll get 5 or 6 years out of them, no problem. That's probably what happened here if I had to guess. They've already got the cowling off. They've removed this, so in order to get this cowling off, there's one Phillips head screw here that you need to remove, and then all you do is you just simply twist, and it comes and pops right off, and then you've got access to the underside. Then there's a couple bolts that are 3/8 down through here, and then this cowling would come up and off as long as you remove this bolt. There's a bolt through. I'll show you how to put all that back on, but this is how they got it off. Was it with that process. The 2 bolts here, the 1 screw here, again, it just kind of twists off when you're ready to take it off from the on to the off position, counterclockwise there. And then this, once you get those 2 bolts off and the steering wheel off so it can come up and over, and you can take just the bolt out of the top and just the steering wheel part off also, if you don't want to take the whole upper part of the shaft off. I'm going to go directly under the steering plate here and jack this mower up. It's not going to hurt anything. I'll show you when we get a little bit higher. Jack stand under either side of the deck. And drop it down on those jack stands so it's sitting just on the deck. If I can't get this one a little high. I wanted to mention here before we got too much further, if you don't want to remove these completely, you don't have to take off any of this steering wheel and stuff like that. You can just pull these up once you've got them off and kind of tip them to the side. So it'll still be there on the steering wheel so we can see our carriage bolts and stuff up here. I'll show you a little bit closer here shortly. Up underneath real easily, you can see the entire steering assembly. It's this whole box here and the gear, along with the arms going to each wheel. This is our full kit here for repairing the steering. Basically what it comes with is an upgraded version that has this plastic in here that keeps it a little bit tighter against the shaft, as opposed to the original construction, which is just a metal on metal of this gear to this metal piece. So it sits up there like this, and as that steering gear that sits down in here turns it either way, it moves your both wheels with those linkages on either side, either to the left or to the right, back and forth. Pretty simple concept and pretty easy to replace. Does come with the steering bushing if you need that. I'm not sure we're going to replace that here. Everything on that looks good, but the steering gear and the pinion rack are the most important. It does come with a notch that shows you exactly what the middle gear is and where you need to line it up. Also comes with carriage bolts if you need new carriage bolts and new lock watchers, which we will use. So right here we've got a pin on either side holding the rod coming in. Just take some needle nose, flip that right off, and then the rod comes down and out. Same thing on this side. Grab it there and pull it straight out. Try to get it. Right out and then straight down. Now that we're free on both sides, we're going to take the 13mm nut for the front. We'll replace that lock nut with our new lock nut. And then we'll take our 11mm nuts off of both sides. As we're doing this, I like to go back and forth and I like to keep tension on these because these are carriage bolts. I don't normally actually take the plastic off up above at all. And you won't have to do that unless you lose one of these carriage bolts. So if you just go real slowly each way and you're pulling down the whole time as you're doing it, just side to side, one off. And again, be careful because that can get pushed back up in there. So again, these are loose. They're kind of held in there right now. I don't know if it's just from being twisted up in there to begin with or what, but our pinion gear straight off. And then again, you can replace our bushing. This one, it looks like it's got some good wear to it. It comes with the kit anyway, so we will replace it. Just blow all that out of there. As well as up above. Make sure your new assembly didn't get any debris or anything on it. If it did, blow it off real well. First thing I want to do when reassembling this is get some of this grease on there. Open it up and we're going to grease all along the back side, all along the front side. Not worried about to the outside edges and really too far, and then where the gear meets. All right. We'll also throw some of this in here for up on the top where that shaft goes in. Make sure it's all lubed. Good to go. And then also on the gear teeth here, just kind of go around. That'll all redistribute once you start actually turning it. You can use a lot of different greases for this. This is just one that comes with it. A dry lube grease is going to work well. Now that we've got that greased up, I'll take each side of this and I'm going to install it just as it was in the other side. So if you take one out at a time and take them out exactly how the other one's orientated, it'll be real easy for you not to get confused about where they go. Trust me, I've gotten confused plenty of times when putting these back together. Now it's exactly the same as it was before, ready to reassemble. First we'll put our bushing back in. All kinds of lube that came through. Our gear, it is not directional, so it doesn't matter which way it goes on there. And now our whole assembly. So if you're real careful, you can get these right back lined up exactly how they should be without knocking those through. And again, I normally do this without taking that top cowling off. The only reason it was off in this case is because the customer already had it off. Get them lined up good. Looks like that. Yeah, there we go. Looks like it dropped down just a hair. I get them started. I'm going to start on that side. Crank it down a little bit. And I'm going to pull it down as I'm doing that because it is a carriage bolt up there. Again, you can replace those carriage bolts if you like. Next we'll get our 13mm. We'll turn everything and get these pins put back in. Now as we go, it's not skipping or anything. Each way is working well. You want to make sure that there's no play or anything in it. If you can move it like this way or either direction, something's going on. So ensure that that's all where it should be. And again, on this old one, it was really just in the metal. There wasn't really anything keeping it from wearing out. You can see all that debris, which is exactly what led to the demise here. And this oblong hole, that is many times where it wears out. If you notice any play here at all, after installing, you'll know that that shaft needs replaced also. Put our pins back in on either side. You just pull them until they line up. Pin in. You want to make sure as you turn that that is not hitting. Sometimes people will put cotter pins and stuff in them and they'll hit the outside edge if you put it in the other direction. It needs to be just like this. That keeps it from hitting as it goes around. Now we're going to turn everything the other direction. And the steering wheel turned with it because the tie rod on the tire is there. The tie rod does connect the two also. Go straight up in the hole, and we're going to install it just like this in that hole. And that's so this bigger part faces away from this metal here. Otherwise, again, it'll hit. Straight in. And now our steering is back like it should be. Go ahead and let it back down. Here, as we're looking through the top side, you can clearly see both of the carriage bolts that we were talking about. So if you poke one through, you will need to take this cowling off in order to retrieve those and put them back in the spot that they're supposed to be in. Again, normally I don't touch any of this. I don't take this off. The only reason this was off in this case is because the customer had it off, thinking that that's how they fixed the steering assembly. I'm not positive that these are the same as what was originally in there. They've got 10mm in currently. I feel like they were different. It was a different bolt that went in there originally, but either way, take this out and then pull that straight up. When we put everything down through, you just make sure your notches line up everywhere. It's 4 notches, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 in the front, so 5 notches. Apparently I can't add this morning. I thought I remembered it being 2 3/8 flange bolts, something like this, that went in here. Pretty sure it is that way on many of these, but this is just a plastic lock that goes in. So if you're going to remove this in the original part, you're going to start with this in here, push the piece down to lock it. But if you want to remove it, all you have to do is pry up, and then the whole piece pries out from there. Lock down in. Don't want to line up on this one for some reason. There we go. Now that's all secure. Everything's in. Oop, I missed my front tab. Got it in now. Got to grab our housing piece, get it up through here, and we'll just pull it up top out of the way as we get our steering wheel back through. It's another good time to check here, make sure you don't have too much play at this steering bushing. Got the bolt that goes through, washer, and then 2 nuts. Again, I'm not 100% sure that was what was on there. It seemed to do the job before, so go right back on there. I don't really like that that has that much play. I'm actually going to do a different bolt here, something a little bit thicker. I'm going to do a 1/4-20 bolt, a little bit bigger, won't have as much play there. Washer on the back side, and then I'm going to lock nut it and then put another nut on the lock nut. Turn that so I'll show you exactly what we're doing. So lock nut here. And tighten that down with my 7/16. Put this other 7/16 on the back here just to lock that into place, make sure it doesn't come loose. And now when I turn the steering wheel back and forth, there's not a bunch of play there. It's not just moving on that shaft. Each time I move it, it's moving that shaft with the steering wheel. There's not play in between this shaft and the secondary shaft. Now this goes back down. Kind of lock it in on both sides here. It really kind of goes on at an angle, and then you kind of turn it this way. Again, normally this is a Phillips head screw, I believe. We're just going to put this one, same thread as those in there. So to line up the steering wheel, you want this to be straight, obviously. You want the steering wheel straight when your wheels are straight. You can do this at the bottom with the gear and the pinion rack with that center point that I notated. I find it much easier at the top just to take out the 1/2-inch bolt and washer and just take off the steering wheel. To me, it's much easier because then you can gauge exactly where your center point is. There's always going to be a little bit of play depending on what exactly your model is. As long as you're right in the center, and there's way more notches up here. There's a ton of teeth, so you can get it exactly perfect to where it needs to be. So you want it still probably just a hair to the right. So now, as I'm turning my play, here it's engaging and here it's engaging. So it's engaging the left and engaging the right at the same spot when the wheels are straight. You're 100% perfect. If you've got your piece here that's still on, all you have to do is pry to the outside edge and it'll come right out. Last step on this one's going to be replacing the battery. You got to take the bracket out. That just holds it on. It's just a bolt, one bracket. And then we've got two 7/16 bolts that hold our wires on. You always want to take off your negative first. You can take off the positive. These have nice flanges in them in that original Duracell battery. They work out well. We're going to put a die-hard in it, so we're going to use some different bolts and washers. And this comes straight up and out. Normally this battery holder at the bottom doesn't get as much in your way. I was asked a while ago how this comes up and how this goes back in by somebody. Well, it just comes straight up and out. And sometimes that battery holder will come with the battery. So if you need it to go back down in there, it just kind of rests against the frame at the bottom like such. Put our new battery back in. Add an angle. I feel like it's kind of, the frame's a little bit bent on this. It doesn't want to go quite back down in there. There we go. We'll hook up our positive first. I like to do a washer here. Nut on the back side. I'll use a lock nut. Cap over the top. And then our negative right here. Again, nut on the back side. I like to always get it so it's up and off of the battery, so it's not going to dig a hole into it over time. Perfect. And then we've got our keeper again. Now on this battery, it's a little bit different because it has these top posts. It's not going to matter. Still going to work out just fine. Just going to hold it down in there a little bit further. So it's at a little bit of an angle, like such. Still perfectly in there with no issue. See how this thing steers. Super big area right now without pulling all this out to show you that it steers well, but you shouldn't get any clicking when you're going to either side. Everything should come in line with one another. Both wheels should be good and your steering wheel should be solid in the middle as you're going. Hopefully this helps somebody get their battery replaced on one of these, that or get their steering assembly replaced, the pinion and rack. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content.